Bad lead quality is one of the most common problems I see with anybody running paid ads, especially if they're going from an organic based business over to paid advertising. And so in this video, we're gonna break down exactly what you're doing wrong that's causing you to attract bad leads, why this happens, and how to go about solving this problem so that your paid ads, in some cases, bring in even better leads than what you're getting organically. So number one, what are you actually doing wrong? Bad lead quality in 99.999% of situations is just bad messaging. All bad messaging is you are speaking to the wrong audience. You're speaking to somebody that is not who you're trying to attract. And this can manifest in a couple of ways. You're either speaking to the wrong pain points, you're speaking to a result that people don't care about, you're not speaking their language. Those are the key points, is you just don't paint the picture of who this is. And this last one is arguably one of the more important and where a lot of people overlook is the speaking the same language aspect. Because I can know all of the pain points, I can know the result you're looking for, I can even look the part. But if I can't speak your language, it's not going to work. It's like if I knew everything about the Spanish market in terms of why they want to buy whatever I'm selling, who this person is, what their home life looks like, I even can culturally dress the part, but I don't speak Spanish, it's never going to work. There's going to be little nuances where they go, does he really know what he's talking about, or is he just lying to get me across the board? And that's where a lot of people go wrong, is sometimes they have the pain points right, they have the results right, but they don't speak the same language. A great example of this today is we just onboarded somebody new on the media buying side of the agency. And we went through a conversation and I was reviewing some of the ad scripts that they had written. And these ads objectively were good. They were really, really good ads, but there was a subtle tweak or a subtle language change that would cause a bad lead to come through. And the ad, to maintain ambiguity, was all about essentially a higher level biz op. It's cost more. You got to have some capital to get into it. We're not selling to 18-year-old kids in the real estate space adjacent. And the ad was perfect. And then what was slipped in was something along the lines of how we help students make, I think it was like $1 million or something, some outrageous number. The entire ad was perfect up until this one statement. So I brought this up to the copywriter and the operator and I said, look, man, this ad objectively is 99% of the way there. The problem is the second you mention helping somebody make $1 million, that is so far away from the person you're trying to attract that they go, oh, I guess this isn't for me. And now, even though the entire ad spoke to their pain points, you throw one wrong word in and it immediately DQs a ton of leads. Whereas in most cases, in a biz ops situation, people are just looking to make a little extra money on the side or just get started with a business. If you're going from making 100 to 200 grand a year and all of a sudden somebody's telling you you can make $1 million a year, that's very hard to fathom for a lot of people. And this is a great example of a problem a lot of people have when they go to write ads, is they may get the pain points right, they may get the result right, but they say one wrong thing where they don't speak the language effectively. And now all of a sudden, your quality of result just tanks. This is really what you were doing wrong with messaging. It's because you're speaking to the wrong person. Now, why does this happen? Weirdly enough, bad messaging comes from two different things. Number one, and something we talk about on the channel all the time, is you exist inside of a silo. Meaning you only know what you know, whether it's your experiences, whether it's your failures, whether it's your relationships, whether it's the YouTube content you're consuming. You only know what you know. I can't ask you a question about something that you haven't learned, heard about, read about, tried yourself. If you haven't had experience with this problem, how are you able to speak to it? You can't, because you haven't even consumed information on the problem in the first place. And so what oftentimes happens when people go to script ads for the first time is they forget that they exist inside of a silo and they write based off what they know and what they see, not what the truth actually is. This can mean they build their ads off solely sales calls, or they build their ads off just their own experiences, instead of doing market research that causes them to expand their silo. Just by going out of your current existence to go seek information elsewhere, you unlock significant amounts of revenue because you realize that your current beliefs and ideas and thoughts are not the truth. It's not what your consumers are actually looking for. And so you need to learn to step outside of your silo in order to really speak to who you're looking for. Now, there are cases where you go outside and you just validate what you already know. And that's perfect. That means you had the right messaging. But occasionally you'll go outside, you'll look at forums, you'll look at YouTube, you look at Facebook groups, whatever you're looking at. You look at all of these things and you'll see pain points that you can speak to, or problems or outcomes that people are looking for that you wouldn't have thought of before. Or even, again, because you're serving a specific set of people on your sales calls already, those topics may not even be brought up. And so that's the first problem as to why you have bad messaging. The second problem is if your business is based off organic, oftentimes people buy just for proximity to you or for your creator if you're an operator. That's great. But the people that come through that funnel are not necessarily your ICP. They just want to be a part of you. Because as a creator, and I was having a conversation this weekend about this, which I thought was super interesting, you are your own total addressable market. You've created your total addressable market, which is why after a certain period of time, your revenue tanks on organic because you've sold all of your audience. You've sold this component. You've sold that component. But the truth of the matter is, you as the creator are the offer. 9 times out of 10, it has nothing to do with the mechanism or the business model. It just has to do with, oh, I like the personality of this guy, or this guy gets pretty good results, or this girl, she seems to live the lifestyle I've always wanted. I want to be like her. Not, I want this thing, just I want to be like this person. I'll never forget, we ran an offer for a creator that had, at the time, 2.7 million followers. This guy had a cult-like following. When I tell you cult-like following, I mean very few creators have guys basically on their knees going, I want to be you. I want to be you. And we ran ads for a very short period. I'm not saying we ran the account or really managed the account at all. We came in towards the back end as a sub under a bigger agency. But we were able to get inside of the ad account. We saw the ads ran, and we ran them for probably 2 to 4 weeks. I can't remember off the top of my head. What was crazy though is this guy maintained a 7 to 9x ROAS with a dookie offer, a dookie funnel. I'm pretty sure we were running lead forms, if I remember correctly. Objectively horrible. Sales team was all right. It wasn't the craziest thing in the world. There weren't any crazy tactics. It was like your very basic sales team. Basic setters that weren't anything special, weren't a bunch of savages, but got the job done. They would have performed on any offer. But this guy was at a 7 to 9x ROAS, and I'm pretty sure we got to a point where we were spending like 3 to 4K a day on this account because they wanted to be him. He was the TAM. If you tried to run this on cold traffic to somebody that didn't know who he was, because that's the other thing, this was entirely retargeting, your messaging would have been horrible. It would not have attracted the right type of person. Because again, they lean so much on their own TAM. So that's another reason that you typically bring in bad quality leads is you think that what you're doing on organic is going to translate to paid. And in most cases, it does not at all. So that's the second part. And the third part to why you tend to bring in bad leads is more of a mindset thing than anything else. So you hear all the time from guys like Tony Robbins and what's his name? Zig Ziglar. Oh, it's going to drive me nuts. Who's this other guy? I can't remember. But you hear all the time from guys like Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, all these like motivational speakers about scarcity versus abundance mindset. And this in most cases is the root of all your problems. It is the number one reason why you attract bad leads. Because you, my friend, operate out of scarcity. You have decided to put money on the line and now you're scared. You don't want to lose the money that you just put up. And because of this, you say, okay, I have to speak to everyone. And that's your problem. Because when you try to speak to everybody, you disqualify people too. If I want to attract business owners that do $1 million a year, we run paid ads. We want to work with a business owner that does, in most cases, between 50 to 100K a month before we come into the organization. Why? Because they've got to have that free cash flow. But if I'm trying to attract them in my paid ads, I cannot speak to the problems of somebody that does 50K a month. I can't do it. It doesn't work. Because what ends up happening is when I speak to this person, this $1 million a year business owner goes, oh, I guess that's not for me. To be very transparent, I wish we did better with. We're still working with the offer. The business contracted since we first started working with them, and we like to be transparent in general. But it's a very upmarket B2B organization or B2B offer. And it's in an industry where the terminology is a lot more niche. And the problem that we ran into for months, way longer than I'd transparently like to admit, is we were not speaking to the problems of $1 million a year business owner. Now, part of this was out of scarcity, because the TAM is very small for these higher level business owners. But the other part again is we just didn't speak the language well. And so another marketer was brought in to run a funnel on this offer and to just go head to head with. And to be, again, very transparent. I don't know where the offer is going to end up. I don't know if we're going to keep working with them. I love working with the guys, but we weren't able to get the messaging down. And that's a part of the game. You got to understand that. But it was because we tried to go too broad. We operated out of scarcity. So we got to speak to every single person in this niche, not just the ideal consumer. And that is what caused us to bring in dookie leads. Because again, we were trying to speak to the 50K a month guy and the $1 million a year guy at the same time. We were operating out of scarcity instead of abundance. Whereas when you speak from abundance, you know exactly what to say to your person because you're speaking directly to them. You're speaking directly to the individual that you are looking to speak to. The way that this manifests itself is you no longer care about all the other people in your market because you're just speaking to who you want to speak to. The best way to explain this too is think about any time in life you've operated out of scarcity, whether it was something to do with family members, something to do with your job, something to do with a relationship you may have had, something to do with even the dollar figure in your bank account. Think about how much that skewed your behavior when you felt like you couldn't walk away. How much did that change the way that you behaved? The same is true of paid ads. And if your TAM is small, which is something, again, on our end should implement it. It's not all sunshine and rainbows in this game. Even if the TAM was small, just speak to a bunch of different niches. Speak to a bunch of different situations. Go super direct, go super deep on those situations. And so those are the three big problems is again, you live in a silo. Organically, you've built your entire business off of your own personality. And so what you think is going to work on organic never does work on paid. Or you operate out of scarcity versus abundance. And this is like the biggest, if all you did was just nail this part down, you would win. And so how do we go about improving lead quality? How do we solve this problem of bad leads? All I want you to do is think about a person you know that would resonate with your offer. My favorite example of this is my own mom. If she watches, she's going to hate hearing this. Or maybe she could laugh, who knows? Because I historically, for about a year, had a very hard time with BizOp messaging. I didn't understand what made somebody resonate with a BizOp model. I could do B2B, I could do services, I could do in funds and investing really well because I operate in those niches. But biz op, I never quite understood because I wasn't that person. It was hard for me to resonate with. And what I realized is recently, my mom's been getting psyoped by all these traders on Twitter and all these AI people on Twitter that are basically just selling biz ops. And it clicked one day and I went, what would she resonate with? Because we're lucky enough to grow up in a good household. They're well off enough to buy a horse and not really sweat. So what would resonate with her? And that changed my entire perspective because now I had a person in front of me and I could go, how would I speak to this person? How would I speak to my own mother about getting her to buy a biz op? It's very different than what I had historically done. You're not going to go to your mom and say, we'll teach you how to make $50K in a month, because she doesn't care. She's got a couple hours of free time. She wants to fill her time with something. She wants to try this out. She doesn't need to make $50K a month. She doesn't need the flashy cars. She doesn't need any of that stuff. And so instead of what a lot of the biz op guys do with the lifestyle marketing, which inherently attracts poor people, let's speak the other way. Do you want to learn a skill that'll pay you on the side? Something you can do in retirement. Something you can have fun with, something that allows you to spend more time with your children or go on those trips that maybe you can kind of afford, but it's a little out of your reach and you just wish you had a little extra income to throw at those trips. Notice how different that is. Because again, I have put somebody in front of me and said, I'm going to sell to this person. Now it makes total sense because I have a relation. Would this person even resonate with some of this shit that's coming out of my mouth? And if we go back to the scarcity mindset, a lot of you guys throw timeline and money in there because you're scared that if you don't, you won't get customers. I was in the DMs with a consulting client of ours and the ads guy was like, everybody seems to run uncompliant ads. Like, why don't we just do those and then switch over to compliant ones later? I'm like, because you are lazy and you are being scared. You are being a pussy. Speak to your buyers the way they need to be spoken to. Just because you're scared doesn't mean they are. So speak to them effectively. And that's the first tip is before I get into any of these tactics, visualize who you personally know that would resonate with this offer and speak to them. So that's the first one. The second thing with this is the way in which you pivot your messaging. So you want to be able to paint the picture of who you're actually speaking to extremely effectively. And you also need to get into the mindset of the individual that you're speaking to. So we're going to stay on the theme of biz op because this is where so many people mess up and it's selling to the general public. Higher market B2B stuff is pretty easy if you keep it in mind. Only reason we messed up with that client historically was just because we were too scarcity minded in terms of who we're speaking to because the small TAM scared us. But again, let's say we're going general pop biz op and we don't want to build this business off the back of financing. What you need to be able to do is although you will call out a pain point in the ad and although you will dig a little bit, you need to immediately go to opportunity-based messaging. The problem we see all the time is people try to fearmonger others into buying their thing. For example, do you want to quit your 9 to 5? Do you hate where you're at in life? Do you look at your bank account every day and cry inside? Do you want to make sure that you can drive that Lamborghini yesterday? Well, I made $1 million in 12 days. Who the fuck do you think that's speaking to? Objectively, who is that speaking to? Somebody that has no money, none. And all I've done is I've dug super, super deep and I've promised a really aggressive timeline to success. Guess what, buddy? Only people that want that? Poor people. Only time I've ever wanted a fast result was when my bank account was thin. Shit, you probably think the same thing. You need to pivot to opportunity-based messaging. All that this is pain point, and then flip to what it does for the person. So for example, and a little bit of nuance, but are you looking to just make a little bit of money on the side? I'd have to check to make sure that's compliant, but compliance out the window. Or do you want to earn a little bit on the side? Are you looking for something to do in your free time to fill that space where you really don't know what you want to do? You're looking for something that'll give you that extra cash so you can splurge a little bit on vacation. Something that's not going to take up a ton of your time, but just enough to, learn a skill, have some fun doing it. Something that you can still work your job and have that stability, but you get to try something on the side that doesn't demand you work 8 hours outside of your 8-hour shift. Well, here's this. Now, is that my favorite messaging? But do you notice the difference in the two people that I'm speaking to? Because I've gone from not pain point, digging into pain point, but I've gone pain point to opportunity. The second part to this is the language. So let's move into more of the capital raising space. If I speak to a accredited investor and I say, do you have $100K bankroll that you're looking to deploy? That does not speak to an investor. That speaks to a gambler. In fact, I didn't even know what bankroll was until I did a little stint on a prop firm for sports betting. And I heard bankroll and I was like, that sounds like shit. And then I realized that's a gambler's term. So it made sense. But in the context of a fund, it doesn't at all. Instead, you need to say something like, do you have 100K liquid capital? Even though I'm asking for the same thing, the change in language completely changes who comes through. And if you want to understand why you're probably attracting bad leads, or maybe you think you got your messaging perfect and you just want another set of eyes before you run the campaign, feel free to book a call with the link below. You'll speak to myself or a member of the team. We'll run you through how we would write ads for your market. And we can just look through the account. We'll see what's wrong. We do funnel audits to just let you guys know how to improve. And if it makes sense to work together, it does. If not, you walk away and you're not going to burn your money. You're not going to throw your money at Zuck and wonder where it went. So like I said, link below, you can click, book call myself and a member of the team. We can take it from there. But again, to summarize all of this is number one, operate out of abundance. abundance. I don't care how small your TAM is, speak to them effectively. Don't get scared that your TAM is small and try to widen it with your messaging. Just launch another funnel that speaks to the wider version of your TAM, but speak directly to who you're speaking to. Number two, if you have an organic audience, don't go launching your organic funnel on paid because it's probably not going to work. You've been able to get away with a bunch of shit on organic. So make sure that your messaging is dialed before you go to paid. And then lastly, get out of your silo. Again, if you've built an organic business, don't just base your messaging off what you see in your sales calls, but go outside. Go look at the forums, go look at Reddit, go look at Facebook groups, go look at YouTube comments, go look at search traffic volume on like a Google search trends. Go do that outside research. And then once you've done all that, when you go to write your messaging, I want you to picture somebody you personally know and speak to them. Speak to them directly. How would you communicate your solution to them? How would you communicate the problems to them? And it will change your entire perspective. Make sure you're speaking their language. Make sure you're using opportunity-based messaging. Don't speak to the people that are poor, and your ads will perform 10 times better. So if you like content like this, guys, you want to see more of it, drop a comment below. Let me know what you want to see more of, and I will see you in the next one.